Hunting's something that most people see as a sport, but I don't really like to call it a sport. When people think of hunting, they think of somebody just going out and shooting an animal with no purpose or intent. For me, hunting is something much more important than a sport or an activity. Hunting has been a part of my life since I was a very young child, and for about as long as I can remember, my dad went out during the winter time and would shoot a deer to provide meat for our family. I was introduced to hunting at a really young age, and at around 9 years old, I went and took my hunter's education course and got my hunting license, and at the age of 9, I shot my first deer. That was an experience that I'll never forget. It was around November 17th. My dad and I went out and walked to our tree stand while it was still dark. We climbed in the tree and we sat there and we waited for the woods to wake up, and the birds started chirping and the sun started coming up and the light was right in your face, and we'd sat there for probably about an hour, and the next thing I know, there's a deer walking in and standing in front of me. But at that age, I was too young to hold the gun up in front of me, and that deer got away. Dad told me it was okay, so we just sat there and we waited some more. Probably about 20 minutes later, another deer came in. This time it was on the side of me, and I was able to use the seat of my tree stand to rest the gun and take down the animal. Some people have a problem with hunting because they think that the animal suffers and that it takes a long time for the animal to die. However, that's not the case. Most of the time, the animal is dead within 30 seconds to a minute after the shot. Most of this time is spent running, and some of the time they don't even know that they've been hit. There's several different ways that you can take down an animal. In Indiana, you can use a shotgun, a muzzleloader. Recently, they've legalized a few calibers of rifles that you can use on private land. You can use a bow and arrow and a crossbow that I know of. I usually choose to use my bow. My bow pulls 70 pounds and shoots around 300 feet per second. That's plenty of speed to take down a deer without the deer having to suffer. I also like to use a broadhead. The blades tear the internal organs up more than if you were to just shoot it with a regular field tip that people use for practicing. The last deer I shot actually was dead within about 30 seconds of being shot, so the deer didn't really suffer. Whenever I hunt, I don't just go out and shoot a deer and leave it there and take the antlers. For me, it's about getting meat for my family, providing food for my family. It saves a great deal on the grocery bill. It's a great way to bond for parents and their children, and it's a great way to just have some time to yourself, to enjoy the outdoors, and to give yourself some time to think and reflect. In the woods, that's where I do a lot of my thinking, my praying, and just time to reflect on my life, really.